What's up, everyone? We are back breaking down the NASCAR Firekeepers Casino 400 at Michigan. I got Taco with me here, and Taco and I, we were just talking about last week. Whoa, it was a really, really good week for DFS Army, for everybody watching the show, all of that stuff. So, man, we got to keep that going. Got to keep that going here. You and I tied. You took down a tournament, but I only got like fourth place. What the hell?
Yeah, 8K. I got 3K is the way it goes.
Frustrated, but we're going to take another one down this week. So tell me a little bit about the Firekeeper Casino 400, the Michigan track. Give me the lowdown about this track. What's the story?
So this is the track I live closest to. I literally rejected free tickets to this race because in person, probably one of the worst races. The upper groove is pretty strong here. It's a big 2-miler. You always want to like compare it to Pocono, the other like large flat track, because without Indy in the circuit anymore, the only tracks that are like 2+ miles in size that aren't like the super speedways like Daytona and Talladega or Auto Club, which you go to super early in the year, here at Michigan and Pocono. We used to go here twice a year until a couple of years ago. So now we only come here once per year, and we only have one race under our belt with the next gen car. And this race was a little fucky last time. So usually this is a fairly, follow the leader, not carnage free, but a lower carnage race. Very hard to hide your speed here. Like the fast cars not only qualify up front, they show speed in practice and they run up front. But last year's race was kind of a little strange because I think early on in stage one, there was a humongous caution, like a 10-car pileup on a restart. And that's actually happened twice in the last two races. There was an 8-car pileup like later on in the 2021 race as well. So there's always a possibility. We saw similar stuff in Xfinity, but I mean, you can't go off the Xfinity race too much because there's a severe lack of talent there. And it was, I think all of JGR ended up crashing each other in one wreck. Didn't matter. They ended up winning in the end. But it hasn't really mattered what track we've gone to this year. It's been really rough in the Xfinity series this year. But, overall, this should be like about average carnage expected. And unless if it happens on a restart like that, you can take a good amount of cars out. But usually they're just like one car, two spins, nothing too major there. Yeah, we're looking at Pocono, also probably looking at like Kansas as a good contract to this one. Auto Club, which it'd be nicer if we went to Auto Club anytime recently. But that was like the second race of the year. That's another good one to look at. Pocono makes a ton of sense with it being the other like large flat 2+ mile track, and we just went to it like 2 weeks ago. But they're kind of different in the way that they drive that tricky triangle compared to Michigan here. But overall, big tracks like this, again, it's going to be really hard to hide the speed. And we saw it last year. This race last year, there are 3 guys that really stuck out in practice. Kyle Busch first in every split, and he started third. Led a bunch of laps early on, was taken out in that big race, or that big wreck as a chalk. And Bubba Wallace was like second overall in practice across most of the splits. He started on the pole, led 21 laps, ended up finishing second, doing fine. The pole sitter usually does really good here. They have 56% chance of being the optimal just for being the pole sitter here. It's historically pretty good. And the other guy, Denny Hamlin, was the other one that was really, really strong in practice. Notice a trend here: Toyota. Hell, even the fourth fastest car, Gibbs, was Toyota. But yeah, Hamlin also was fast in practice. Also got out there and led 15 laps. Ended up finishing third, had a really good finish. Hamlin always runs really well here. So yeah, Toyota kind of definitely the guys to watch out for this week. They're the favorites, are like plus 130 over the Chevys. And at these intermediate tracks, you've seen Ford be as low as like plus 400, plus 450. They're like plus 280 this week or something. They're not too bad. There are a few guys here, most notably, obviously, Harvick, carrying the blue ovals, as he has won this race for the last 5 times. 5 of the last 7 times we've come here. And yeah, he was the one guy last year that didn't really show a whole lot in practice. He had no fast laps or lead laps in like the 5 intermediate track races going into this one, but he started like, where did he start? He started 16th. Ended up winning, leading a bunch of laps. Like he just did the thing. It was crazy.
Let's take a look at the practice times real quick, Taco, and point out to me, like, where am I looking here to understand who's really got the speed? Because you've got your average time, and everybody kind of drove a different number of laps. You had the A group and the B group. Should I differentiate Group A and Group B? Most weeks there, it's like just a weird split there where, it looks kind of different between the groups. What am I looking for here to know who's got that speed? Like last year when you said, hey, some practice times really translated.
Yeah, but I mean, it translated into qualifying, which,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, basically all the guys that qualified up front did really, really well. We're kind of looking for like sustained speed, like late into a run. Like we see Truex and Busch have some good long run speed. Blaney kind of sneakily as well. We're also saying, I mean, there are like some guys that are like slow and kind of really off-putting, like Harvick especially looked really bad. Like last year he was like, 15th in practice or whatever, and did his thing, but he looked like quite bad. And that's gonna probably cause some room for concern here, but I mean, who knows with him? Outside of him, really just the Toyotas were looking solid. Byron did well in the laps that he ran. And then you have some guys down low that look surprisingly fast. Allmendinger looking incredible. Corey LaJoy for stupid cheap. He was great in practice.
Ooh, okay. See, that's the stuff right there. Colo starting way back.
Oh yeah.
Need some salary relief. I did notice that one. I noticed I need some salary relief. Colo, has he been okay on this track type? Because he's been pretty bad in the short tracks.
Super consistently finishing like 20th, and if he does that here,
it's probably good enough based on the salary discrepancy between him and those 7K sort of staples that you're going to see as we break down the salaries. Ty Gibbs is really good.
There's no shortage of value here, and the most expensive plays on the slate, Larson and Hamlin, aren't really they're really looking like guys who are going to dominate a whole lot. Hamlin didn't look great in practice. Larson, we've seen Hendrick take a bit of a step back recently. They're not as crazy as they were in like the first part of the season. Like you've always got Byron up there finishing well. He's got an amazing pit crew and all that, but he's not like dominating these races. And Larson's kind of been just all over the place. We started back there in 17th. Can't really expect anyone that starts outside of the top 15 here to do a lot of fantasy scoring, dominating at least, because we've seen almost all the dominator points go to guys starting in the top 5.
So you're saying that this track, even though it's 400 miles, it's so difficult to pass.
It's just clean air is so awesome. Like you're going to see, like yesterday, Allgaier was the fastest car. He started up in the front too. Won the restart early off of the non-preferred lane, but until he got shuffled down with I think he got spun out in his pits or something. Until that happened to him, he was just gone in clean air, out by 3-4 seconds, like every single time.
Let's bring it around.
There's just huge separation.
Let's bring it around to this question because it's pertinent to the same thing that we're talking about. So you've got Bell starting on the lead lap, or starting in the pole position.
Yep. And then you've got a really weak third and fourth starting guys in Ty Gibbs and Chris Buescher. I mean, Buscher's been amazing at the short tracks, the road courses, but the intermediate tracks, he's not somebody that's really going to dominate. And you've got Chastain, who's been on quite a cold streak, starting outside well, probably inside of Christopher Bell. So I mean, I think it's very likely that Christopher Bell leads the first chunk of this race, like extremely likely. But it is worth noting, looks like we're going to have a competition caution because rain is very likely going to affect this race. We've got pretty strong chance of rain today and tomorrow. It could be a whole thing. So maybe even a reduced lap count. I mean, it's hard to predict that for this track, but the weather overall not looking great. Like we're gonna have like a little window between like 2 and 3 where we could race a little, but I mean the race is set to start at 2:30. Doesn't look like we'll be racing this afternoon much. 70 to 80% rain coverage there in Brooklyn, Michigan. And
boy,
tomorrow it's kind of like, you know, same sort of thing, like tons of rain forecasted tomorrow. So I don't know if this is going to be a Tuesday race or what, or if we just try to hold out.
We might get where they don't even start it today. So that would be interesting. But here's what I'm thinking. Let's game theory this out for a second, Taco. Mm-hmm. We know that Bell has he good practice times, fast car, but at the same time, one of the worst pit crews in NASCAR, right?
So, yeah, and he's gotten pit penalties in both of his last 2 races. It's been
are they also
really
slow, or are they just always getting penalized?
Yeah, him and Bubba have had real struggles with. I mean, so that could be a real concern for him. Like, I think Bell is just a strong contender for leading here early on. Last year in this race, you know, he finished 26th. He was part of that. The guys that got shuffled back there, but like he led like 30 laps and did really well overall at this track. So got a bunch of fast laps as well too. Looking fast again here this week. Like he definitely seems like the top dog early on if you just take this face value. And Truex has not really been that much of a dominator at this track, especially anytime recently. And he'd be the one guy you'd think starting back in 5th that would dethrone Bell, but
he could get there though.
I think it's most likely going to be Chastain, if anyone. Chastain just has not really been that fast lately, but we'll see.
Or my boy Ty Gibbs comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, that could happen. This was one of his best races last year.
That would be awesome. I'm just game theorying this out, and like so the question of if he's a good cash play is really it's interesting for me because he's probably going to lead. You know, you're right. He's probably going to lead the first group of laps, but these are 2-mile laps, and what are we talking, like 25 before they're pitting?
Yeah, I still think it's super likely that, you know, I mean, it's nice for him to have the first overall pit stall too. That is always huge. Yeah, I think he's probably going to lead a good huge chunk of stage 1, maybe even stage 2, because I don't really see many threats. His main threats here, starting much farther back. Like I don't, you know, Truex is on the right team, looks fast in practice and all. Probably be the top threat because I don't really believe in Chastain like that.
What is the number?
And then you got Larson and Hamlin starting way back in the teens.
Amongst us, what is the number of laps we feel like? All right, if he leads 50 laps, then finishes top 5, we're golden with that. You know what I'm saying? Where you know, it's not just about him leading the laps. It's how far back does he fall? If he falls to 10th place, you're losing 10 points. You're losing like 20 points there. That's a big negative, right? But I led 50 laps and then I fell to 10th, and then he still might be in the nuts. He's a very expensive driver. So like, where does he burn you in cash? If he leads 30, 40 laps, for example, then falls back to 10th or 11th place.
So we've seen pole sitters finish historically well here. Like their average finishing position is 6.7. That's like twice as good as any other starting spot. You know, most of the time these pole sitters are optimal, and the only ones we've seen not do well is like Chris Buescher in 2020. You know, other than that, it's been all just name brand guys, and they tend to finish well. Like last year, Bubba Wallace ended up finishing second, starting on the pole, got a fair amount of lead laps, led 20 with 15 fast laps. He ended up being optimal off of that, but he was cheaper. You know, Larson on the pole led a shit ton of laps. You know, he was optimal.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to really think about how many races are in this calculation here. I mean, I assume it's only 3 or 4.
Oh no, it's like 18.
Oh, whoa. So you're saying over 18 races tracked, the pole sitter is in the nuts 56% of the time?
Yep.
And the second and the number 2 guy is 47. Wait a minute. It's either 1 or 2 100% of the time?
Because practice tends to show the speed. Speed tends to go directly into qualifying. You know, sometimes the fast cars don't qualify up in the very front. You saw like Pocono also. Like the fast cars are going to qualify up front. That's what we've seen this week.
But we got some weird qualifiers up front, or those are just the fast cars.
Yeah, so the fast cars this week, at least in practice, are Truex, Bell, Byron, and Gibbs, and they all qualified up front.
And Chastain, because he's number 2.
Yeah.
Could have been that bad. Okay, so I mean, if we just take it on face value here, and yeah, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of you're seeing the standard, like, you know, further back is worse, probably because they're shitters back there and better.
Well, the lower teams are going to seriously struggle here at these horsepower tracks because, I mean, you can see it in the odds. They just fall off a cliff after like Alex Bowman. Once you're not on an elite team, you're severely not favored here. Like,
yeah,
it's a significant gap between the top teams and the not top teams of the place like this.
2 miles, not super likely, or it's not as fast to fall, I guess, laps behind here. But for the shitters, but I don't know. The next gen car seems to have less gap between the great teams and the pretty good teams, and so there's been a little of that difficulty sort of differentiating where you know, like you said, Chris Buescher, not that he's been great here, but that style of team, those mediocre teams that now do pretty well.
Yeah, and we're just saying, like, last year, and even at Pocono, we saw 4 of the top 5 finishers be Toyota. Toyota just looks really strong as a team right now.
All right, let's see. Let me think about anything else we need to look at here on the research station. We got our win odds, our top 3 and top 5 here. So it looks like Christopher Bell remains the prohibitive. I don't say prohibitive. He's the favorite, but it's barely favored to win at 8x. And you got Martin.
He was a little bit bigger of a favorite last night. We've kind of seen guys like Kyle Busch and Truex. Their odds got a little bit better from last night.
23xi. I think Bubba looks really good today. So there's one.
Yeah, they kind of went crazy as a team. We saw Bubba and Reddick leading a shit ton of laps. Was it Richmond early on? Of course, a different kind of track. We got to kind of look towards Pocono, and those guys, they didn't like lead a shit ton of laps. We did see Reddick running like second there. Not running second, but he finished second. Like
Reddick did really well.
Super strong by the end.
Yeah, on the similar course, he came in second. So I don't think you count these guys out. I think these are your, you know who I think we'll get to them, but I feel like Reddick, Bubba, Keselowski, that's how you win the tournament this week.
Yeah, and we have some really cheap dominators here with Bell only being 98 compared to all those 10K guys, and Chastain, just the lack of like threats around him besides Bell. If he ends up doing big things at 9K, that's going to open the salary wide up. And again, there's just no shortage of value here. I don't think you really need to punt all that much. So punting kind of off the table with the existence of guys like LaJoy and Haley making the slate, at least down low the slate. It's very hard to get off of those guys. Maybe you might pivot to Gilliland or Burton, but the bottom of this slate kind of is figured out. And there's that chunk of really good low 7, high 6 value guys. So down low, it's very straightforward who the good and the not so good plays are. Up top, it's interesting because like Bell seems like the clear top dominator guy for this week, but I could see someone else kind of coming into the fold here. We're seeing a lot of momentum behind Kyle Busch. Brady absolutely loves Kyle Busch. But yeah, just see a bunch of guys with very, very similar odds, like, solid like third of the field is within like 5 odds of each other between like the 8-1, 15-1 guys.
I have an idea how we're going to change our breakdown this week.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of starting at the top, I think we should start at the bottom. Okay. Work our way up. Right. We're going to get this. You just gave me a really good idea. We're gonna start at the bottom.
I'm down for it.
Yeah, we're gonna get let's figure out our punts, right? Let's figure out the turds on
Well,
the
this
slate.
is the easy part, right?
Yeah, it's easier, and then we'll get in. It's more complex up top. I already, I've already been making lineups for this. So it's more complex up at the top than it is at the bottom. There's a lot of drivers that you could just X off, unfriend you. There's a few that we're gonna load up on. And then I think the key to the rest of the slate is going to be, figuring out, is Bell going to hold on, or pit penalty back in the, all of a sudden Bell's in the back and you're like, oh shit, that's done. And then who's going to take that lead? Who's going to hold it? And how do we play the difference between the place diff guys and the starting up top guys? And that's how you take the tournament down. So I really think going the other way than what we normally do is a cool thing. And by the way, if you're watching this, if you're watching this and you're not signed up at DFS Army and you want these tools and everything we're doing, we're getting crazy right now for NFL, getting ready, getting prepared. And we've got the big promotion going on at DFS Army, NFL 2023. It's that knocks off 25% off any of the packages. VIP, which covers everything. NFL only if that's what you do, but you don't get the NASCAR. You don't want to do that. But all the packages 25% off NFL 2023. So make sure you check that out and hit that like, subscribe, notification bell on the channel. We are going crazy with the content for the next few weeks. Taka, it's going to be nonstop.
Hell yeah, man. I want me some football back. I'm getting excited.
Even some fantasy football. It's fantasy football season. It's draft season.
Best balls all night last night.
Best ball. Going crazy on the best balls. I got the rankings out, changing them all around. Joe Burrow's getting hurt. I don't know what's going on out there.
It'll be fine. Now, we're going to need to hide our heads a little bit here so we can look at the practice times here.
No
all right. You see you see Gilliland and below. Look at those practice times. This is
the practice times were gross.
I would consider this Fade City.
Yeah, wait.
I'd play Gilliland. Gilliland just because of the top 15 finishes he's kind of randomly gotten, but
unfriend you.
Seriously prefer LaJoy. And yeah, you've got Austin Hill, but he's in a beard car, which we usually only see at the super speedways, Daytona, Talladega. Hill finished 18th here last year, and that looks pretty good, right? But that was in an RCR car. So this car, obviously, we can tell from practice speeds, nowhere near as fast as the RCR car was. Not very interested. Gun to my head, if I had to pick anyone that you had highlighted here to play, it would be Ty Dillon, but you do not need to play Ty Dillon this week. There is no need to go below LaJoy Gilliland.
Listen, you said it, and even Gilliland is very sketchy. Look, you said it correct. Look, right here is your practice ranking, right? This dude, it's 31, 32. These are the worst cars. Josh Bilicki, 2 seconds off the pace. The rest of them,
there really aren't any surprises either in this range. These are the slow cars. The only other slow car out there is Josh Berry filling in for Noah Gragson. That car has been shit all year.
Did Noah Gragson say some fucked up shit? Did I see that correctly?
Noah Gragson got caught in 4K like in a really racist meme. You hate to see it. Sponsors hate to see it.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah. It's a big L for the bowl cut. You'll have to take a year off, do sensitivity training, get the best car in NASCAR, win the championship. That's the pipeline there. But
there's a path.
So we will have Barry here, but Barry, don't look at what he's been doing. I mean, he hasn't really done much.
He had the
intermediates with Chase's car, but yeah,
you put him in a shittier car.
He's in a shit car now.
Yeah, I am not interested. I'm not interested.
Way too expensive too.
I literally just saw the thing.
There's nothing there.
Nothing here. We're out on that. So we're out on this zone. I think Gilliland is in that group. His car's really slow. I don't get it, right? I like the car's too slow. I know.
Oh yeah, he's not looking good.
Yeah,
not looking good. He's got so many like random top 15 finishes at intermediate tracks this season, but I don't think that's as likely to happen if you're not showing any speed here. LaJoy did show some speed. Like, he is such an obviously better play than the guys around him. This track, he's just super consistently finishing, right around mid-pack, like 20, low 20s, which starting 31st, if you just, if you finish 22nd, like how he always finishes here, and you can see in the intermediate finishes also, he just loves finishing like 21st. That's all we need out of him here at 55. That is all we need.
You think so? I don't know that it's locked in enough to win.
Just compared to the guys around him, like he has such an easier path to getting to value than I mean, his main threats would be like Haley Burton, and those guys are more expensive than him.
Yeah, you're right. Like as you look at this, the big thing working in Colo's favor is his salary being the cheapest. So like there is something in DFS to the cheapest viable play. Like I talk about it in NFL all the time, cheapest viable defense. But when you have the cheapest viable of something, now a 30 from Colo is worth more potentially than like a 37 from Haley or even a 38, 39 ish range from Stenhouse Allmendinger, just because the way the math
And you
kind of
also got
works
to
itself out.
factor in that the most expensive guys. This isn't like a slate where like a Richmond or a Martinsville or something where you're going to want to pile as many 11, 10K guys together as you want. Like Larson's the most expensive on the board, and he's arguably not even really much of a play this week. Like there's not too much to spend up for. The top early dominators are like sub 10K. So yeah, usually there'd be some kind of case for going like all the way down to Balicki, but LaJoie's just got it going on. He showed speed, which separates him from Burton. Burton's had like some random good top 10 finishes recently in this track type, but LaJoie actually showed speed here on top of showing decent enough form
I
at
love
the
that.
track type and the track.
Yeah, I love that it's not just a pure punt. He actually showed, practice speed 17th in 3 laps, 17th in 5 laps. That is real. That's a real decent vehicle. So fuck yeah. And to answer your question, Jason Schuster, it's Colo.
Mr. Corey LaJoie.
I noticed that Mock Lovin, who is a cash maniac and almost always does the right thing, a lot of times he just punts down to the cheapest guy for that last spot in cash.
Yeah, in cash, there's always been it's always been kind of a game theory thing. You see a lot of the big cash head-to-head guys do.
They'll just do that and they don't care. And it's really interesting because I think that's a little bit exploitable when there is a viable cash play kind of close to it.
I'm betting both my kidneys that he's playing LaJoie today. I think they're very safe.
I will see. Yeah, right. I will see. But like, it wouldn't blow my mind if all of a sudden it's like JJ Yelly and you're like, oh, or even Billicky and you're like, really? Okay. So you're sticking to it. Maybe
moving up to like Burton, right? He's had good finishes recently at the intermediate tracks, like top 10s at Darlington, at Pocono recently. Very interesting, but I don't know. He's caught up in that wreck here early last year, but he just didn't look like much in practice. Like 30th on the board, cool. That's not
that 8th place last week was why I didn't win the tournament.
Yeah,
like that's why.
It would be 2 weeks ago, but yeah, the last intermediate track at Pocono. Yeah.
I was in that one, and I had the other punt, which was good, but Burton just killed it. I didn't have any of it. So, can't ignore the fact that Burton has an 8th and a 6th, even though the practice times look just as bad as the turd herd down here.
McDowell, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like instead of McDowell. It was a couple weeks ago. I came in second. It was like a great race, but there was somebody who outpoints it by an insane amount because they had Burton.
Like, so he's kind of looking a little bit similar to Haley, not quite as much upside, I guess, because Haley's shown the last like 3 years he's capable of getting like multiple of these like random top 10 finishes at intermediate tracks. It's not something we've really seen from Burton, but we have seen that a little bit recently. But there's not much practice speed or any sort of track history to go with it. Kind of like anti-Burton here, but I do have like some shares because if I play 50 lineups, I'm not going to play 50 with LaJoie and 0 with Burton. It's going to be more like it's going to be a more reasonable split, like 35-15 or something. I would still be heavily favored towards LaJoie, maybe like 40-10.
That's what I was going to say. You're being a little too.
Because you're also probably hedging a little into like Gilliland there, but I still would much prefer LaJoie for obvious reasons. Burton. We'll play him a little bit, but don't have nearly as much hope for him as LaJoie.
I'll address Steve's. If I'm only doing 20 lineups, you can say a few. 2 would be 10%. I don't think I'd be doing more than 2, probably with Gilliland, considering LaJoie is there and other ones. So I definitely wouldn't go too crazy on Gilliland based on how he's looked. Harrison Burton, another one. Man, he burned me a couple weeks ago, but I think just for that reason, I got to have some exposure. I can't have that happen again.
Yeah, it's just all the other plays in this range are kind of shitty till you get up to Haley, because Cindric, not a fan at all. He's been just dog shit in general. I think he had like problems like super early on this race last year, so we don't even know how good he is at this track.
Cindric not terrible, but I mean the starting position is just a little in a weird place at 21st. I think I'll get some exposure there. He's
on a good team.
No, he's on and
should
off.
do better than this, but man,
Yeah.
he's been tragically bad this year. He
has a good race here and there. Every once in a while, like he's a
Mhm.
GPP play. Like every once in a while, it's Cindric. Oh, where'd he come from? So
Yep.
he's had a couple good races.
See, I prefer Haley. Haley's shown
shit
repeatedly he knows what he's doing at intermediate tracks. Short tracks, not so much. We've been avoiding him on the short tracks, but intermediate tracks, I definitely want me some Haley.
Yeah, Haley's been great. I look at his finishes.
Yeah,
you know, 8th, 18th, 16th. All of these are great. Anything. So, what am I looking for? If I'm playing Haley, I'm looking for anything really as high as 16th or better from 26th, and I think that's probably enough to get you there.
Comparatively to the guys around him, yeah, he's got the best shot of anyone besides LaJoy.
He's definitely been in that zone a lot.
That's why they stick out so much higher in just projections, projected ownership. Like these are clearly the guys at the bottom, because you go up above, of course, Barry overpriced in shit equipment, McDowell kind of overqualified or really bad at this track. Briscoe has been no good. Yeah, Briscoe's been fucking horrendous at intermediate tracks, not touching him with the 20-foot pole.
No, but yeah, this trio is no bueno for me. Agree. And then you get to, so this is fade, right? Then we get to a pretty interesting zone here, and I think we're going to live here a little bit. We're going to live in this foursome a little bit, and there's a lot to like. So I'd like you to sort of, I don't know that we're going to be able to figure it out, but you know, this is a group that we want a lot of exposure to. This is like the pre-Alex Bowman zone.
So Jones has been awesome in every large track, just period. He's got to be the best of this bunch, but probably closely followed by Allmendinger, who showed significant speed in practice, especially comparative to the guys here.
Again, look at Dinger, 11th. The practice lap numbers really good, 16th average, 11th, 12th, 13th, and 11th. So he is running effectively 11th best in practice, starting 24th. The math works
and
here.
And then you look at his finishes at intermediate tracks this season, even last season as well. Like he's been done so much better than the short tracks. Like it's looking like a really strong play here. So those two are definitely on the radar as well. But Stenhouse also. Stenhouse, I have only played at super speedways and intermediate tracks this season. He's been like low key having. Like, look at his top 12 finishes this year.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like a constant thing.
7th, 13th, 12th. It's pretty good.
And then, do you believe in patterns? If you believe in patterns, you're playing Austin Dillon this week. I don't believe in patterns, but he has a very interesting pattern with his finishes at intermediate tracks this year. Literally,
am I looking bust. 9? I mean. This is like a roulette wheel. We need to go green on the next roll, on the next spin. Green.
Yeah, coming off of red. Just out of nowhere.
I don't believe in patterns, but
he's starting so much higher up than the guys around him, of course. But
the problem
is completely out of play.
You give Dillon a 13th place here, and that is not in the nuts.
Nope, but that 9th place would be.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, it would. You need top 10.
But I don't know. If you look, I don't know if that 9th place does shit if Stenhouse in that same race gets 7th, you know?
That's right. Well, that's right. Austin Dillon's sketchy here. But yeah. Can't unfriend him. I don't think there's an unfriend in this zone. Even Killer Priest at the bottom of the group.
Yeah, not a fan of SHR overall this week. I think the Ford odds are a bit inflated by the fact that Harvick's won 4 of the last 5 races at this track. But if there are any of the SHR guys I wouldn't mind just in general, it would be Priest. And, of course, I'd like him better at the short tracks. But he's just been in better form. He's at least shown speed, you know, at some of these tracks where Briscoe has been just dog shit since day one.
You can't ignore because he's starting 28th and he's finishing, 16th,
Yeah.
17th, 20th or better, half the time. So
it's not ideal though because the practice speeds are still kind of really bad.
I'll give you my order for this group.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me it's Jones, the cream of the crop, and then Dinger, Stenhouse, Priest, Dillon in that order.
I would probably agree. I think Dillon and Priest are probably like the same, but obviously they fill very different roles. Priest with a higher floor, Dillon with a higher ceiling.
That's fair. Now we get to above here, two drivers who I don't love in Suarez and Almirola. Suarez's odds aren't too bad, but he's starting 14. He's in a weird zone, and so is
it's just
Almirola.
where they're starting. It's going to be so hard for these guys to outvalue the guys cheaper than them in the 7K range with them starting up towards the front. Suarez had a good race here last year, but again, Trackhouse has really fallen off as of late. Like 60-1, we're not used to seeing those odds for Suarez because he had been pushing like 30-1 for a hot minute. But Trackhouse, outside of Nashville, they've been kind of non-existent in the Cup Series since the beginning of the year.
I think
we didn't see anything in practice.
Chastain's going to shock the world today and just be good.
Well, I don't think it would be that big of a shocker if Chastain did, but if Suarez did, that'd be a huge shock. Personally, like
Suarez was pretty good a couple weeks ago.
Incredibly shocked.
Suarez was looking pretty good a couple weeks ago for a small amount. I can't remember what track it was, but let's move up from here because now we're getting into the nitty gritty, right? So we basically figured out our punts for this track. We're starting at the bottom. We like Colo. We're gonna mix in just a taste of Gilliland just because he's been good on occasion. A little taste of Harrison Burton, same reasons. Like Justin Haley, where he's sitting when we need to get that 6K zone. We're gonna skip some of these turds here. And from there, we're going to focus in on Jones, Stenhouse, and Allmendinger with a little taste of Priest and Dillon for good times for shits and gigs, right? So that's how we're rolling the back half.
Yep. And then Bowman's weird because he's shown speed. He's like barely top 10 in practice. And you look, he's like, this would be like the cheapest viable high odds play because after him, you can see the odds drop off like crazy. Bowman's been kind of in the Kurt Busch spot for a while where he's just mid-price each week, but he's also just mid each week. He's kind of lost his dominator upside, but
he's been finding the nuts in 8K.
Does 20th to 10th do it?
I
kind of what we're looking at here.
I think so.
Yeah, and 5th and 15 lap averages, like some kind of sneaky long run speed. We've seen a few of the Hendrick guys actually look like that this week.
Look at the difference in his implied top 10 compared to everybody, even just a sniff behind him. This is you've got a 20% top 10 guy here for 8K. I would like that bet. I kind of like this as
on a strong team.
Yeah, I like this as a bet. I like a few of these as a potential play, but 20% top 10, top 5. If he's in the top 5,
his floor is terrific. I don't know if his upside is like GPP winning.
If he gets top 5, 20% of the time, he will win the tournament.
It's hard to fit him in a lineup because you really want to go 3 punt, 3 stud. I think that's far and away the best lineup construction. And if this is your first punt, I guess like he fits really well with like a Ross Chastain early dom lineup over like a Bell one because you save so much money. This Chastain, range here is kind of like dead.
Chastain, or Wallace is in the lineup. Yeah, I see what you mean. Where
there's a gigantic dead zone underneath or between Bell and Bowman. Essentially, this is a humongous, like just rough patch of guys who are kind of on the outside looking in. Because really, once you get to like Blaney, that's when you start getting to the guys that are probably actually going to do the leading of the laps and the being the fastest of the laps and getting points for that. This range here is all just. Chastain obviously has his path.
This feels to me.
It's a very awkward zone.
The awkward zone is where you find how you win the tournament more often than not. To be clear, because it feels bad. How do you win tournaments? It generally is not the obvious plays an entire lineup of that doesn't win. It's always going to be a spot that feels awkward, feels bad. And this is that zone here. I could see any one of these guys. Bubba. You do really want to play Bubba starting 11th? Well, Maybe.
Probably, actually, yes.
Yeah, this dude has been killing it at this track tie, right? But he won't be high owned. Look, 20%. Chastain starting second. Wait, what's the ownership in Bubba? 17. I'll be surprised if it's that high. Chastain starting second. If he leads, all of a sudden he does Chastain things, you're gonna be winning. Keselowski is another one. Keselowski starting 12th, right?
His odds are really good this week, but man, is he starting to get priced up. 86 for Brad.
I thought Roush was a shitty team. I don't understand. Keselowski's been good.
No, they just RFK just destroyed last week. Both Kez and Buescher dominated that race.
That's what I'm saying.
They were looking good at the short tracks, intermediate tracks. I don't know. Still not a big believer, but Kez would be like, so Buescher's locked into the playoffs. We got to also kind of start to think about the playoffs once we get into this range. We are getting very close to the playoffs here, and a lot of these guys are going to start getting desperate. Like Kez doesn't have a win yet. He should be good on points for the most part, so he's probably looking to have a solid race. But guys like Allmendinger are on the outside looking in now. There's kind of these guys are probably going to be better for GPP because let's face it, some of these guys are nearing the point where they have to win, so they're going to be doing like aggressive pick calls, which are more than likely going to hurt them, but could potentially pay off. We've seen Austin Dillon kind of do this repeatedly. That's how he's gotten some of these top 10 finishes when he's not really had the top 10 speed. So that kind of bullshit's going to factor in here, especially if there are late cautions. Kez has historically been certainly the best at just pit strategy. Like his team has always been just immaculate, that sort of thing. So like for me, my notes on him was just kind of wild card bitches. It's kind of how it always is with Kez. Like on paper, Kez is just a little bit too expensive here. It's hard to see him making value, but if anyone's going to pull a top 5 out of his ass of like anyone on the board or anyone in this range, certainly I would look to Keselowski first and foremost. But
I'm glad you said in this.
There are other guys who probably are more likely to get there just on pure speed alone. Probably your JGR guys or your Toyotas like Reddick Gibbs.
Yeah, it's a question. Do we play this
Bubba
for pure horsepower or for driver skill, where Keselowski's more of the driving skill guy?
Yeah.
Like, that figures it out, where we might get better pure horsepower a little bit above this zone. Yeah, but I think Kez is exactly that, wild card. This is what you call a wild card. I'm saying this is how you win the tournament. Same thing with Ty Gibbs for me. If Ty Gibbs just randomly has this great, he's done well here before. He has this
finally broke through at a short track, leading some laps.
This dude could get the lead and be in front, and you're like, oh my fucking God, Ty Gibbs is leading laps. And no one can pass him. He's in the right car. It's super fast, the clean air. And next thing you know, you're winning a tournament, right? It's 10% owned. I even question that amount of ownership on him. It might not be that. But a track where it's, these are your GPP guys. I think Buescher, though, might be just a pure fade. Are you going to play Buescher?
No, I love me some Buescher. Thank you, Buescher, very much for last week. I'm going to see you at the next short track / road course. I'll probably see you at the next road course because he's been just fantastic at road courses. And you've seen him really turn it on at the short tracks, like dominating legitimate wins, not only last week at Richmond, but last year at Bristol. We also saw him legitimately crush the field. Like their short track program, awesome. Intermediate track program remains to be seen. 16th and 18th at Pocono. Also, both of them just running around like 15th here last year. They're better than they were here last year. I'd be more interested in Keselowski than Buescher for sure in this slate. Buescher, yeah, I'm not gonna go chasing last week's performance.
Just looking at the odds, just looking at the win odds. I mean, it's not close. So if we didn't need Taco to tell us this, Keselowski 14x to win the race. It's 29x for Buescher, so he's twice as bad. If you look at actually just in percentages, because it's the easiest way, Keselowski 28% implied top. That's very good compared to 16 for Buescher. So Keselowski, a clearly better on paper play than Buescher, and a better on paper play than Bubba is in terms of the odds. He's almost twice as likely to win the race as Bubba, and he's got a solid 8% margin for an implied top 5. So Keselowski, probably the class of this zone. And interestingly, Keselowski has better odds than Ross Chastain, who's starting second.
Yep. Now,
That's
I'd
wild.
probably still prefer, I don't know if I'd prefer, but like Ty Gibbs, also a very, very strong consideration in this range because, we finally see him have have a good top 10 run at Pocono. And this is a track where last year, this was probably like his best track. Was able to run up in the top 10 all day in JGR equipment. JGR looking like the class of the field. For 8-1, starting third with, long shot, maybe like 3 to 5% chance he leads early off of something like he, raced the whole race here in Xfinity yesterday. Like he's kind of warm out. I could see Gibbs. Usually I'm a very anti-Gibbs guy. I'm a known Gibbs hater, but with his practice times and just with the speed of his team and the speed of Toyota here last year, and at this track type just in general this year, Gibbs is playable for sure.
I want to see what Brady's notes. Yeah, I thought so. Brady kind of is a little
he's
higher.
a Gibbs enjoyer.
Yeah, he is a Gibbs promoter here. So I thought I'd seen that, so I wanted to jump over to the notes. By the way, if you were not, when you're signed up at DFS Army, you got cheat sheets for every slate and every sport across all of DFS. Do you know this, Taco?
Oh, yeah.
Everything's covered. But for the show, we give a little taste. A little sneak peek. All right, so you've got Gibbs, a little interesting. Chastain, a little interesting. He's starting second.
I think Chastain, you kind of just like lump in there with Bell. Bell, obviously, like the supreme early dominator sort of pick. But Chastain, I think he used to like win the initial restart, or else I'm not like terribly interested in him. Now, he had that amazing run at Nashville. Other than that, it's not really been like there's been no form from Trackhouse at all. So we end up having another Nashville race. That's cool. He looked fine in practice. Like, it's not the worst play. I'm going to have my fair share of Chastain, but I don't want to be overweight to the field, really. I really do think Bell just gets it done early on, and then his teammates kind of take over as the race progresses.
You've got the field saying 22% ownership here on DraftKings. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't go overweight to that.
Yeah, and he's going to be popular because he's such a cheap dom. And with, like Buescher and Gibbs being really unattractive doms, not everyone's going to want to pile onto Bell, of course. So, I mean, Chastain's going to get his fair share of ownership.
Just by default.
You can make some interestingly constructed lineups with Chastain. Like if you play Chastain, you're more likely to be able to get Bowman instead of like Stenhouse.
I feel that if Chastain somehow takes the lead, which we could throw odds on that, but it's a start, and within
we just saw Allgaier do it from second yesterday.
Yeah, we've seen it happen all the time. I watch enough NASCAR to know sometimes the number 2 car, within a lap or two, or
right off his clean air. Even Chastain's a great restarter too, and even if he doesn't have a better long run car than Bell, like Bell's faster on the long run, it doesn't really matter at this track because clean air is king. It really is.
So what you're saying here is if Chastain just squeaks his way into the lead, he could probably hold it for a big part of the race. Hey, I haven't been doing that great lately. Doesn't matter. So, Bell somehow loses the lead. That means Chastain is probably taking it. Again, unless like a Logano or one of these other names we're going to talk about here squeaks their way up real quick into, like there's Byron. There's a few other Truex is hanging out. So there's a few other names up front that really could get there from 7, from 8, from 5, from some of these up close starting positions. We'll talk about that in a second here. But Chastain is not out of the realm of possibility to take the lead early and be the leader for the first 40, 60, 80 laps of this race. It could happen.
Yeah, and there may be some concern as to his track history because I think he came 24th here in this race last year, and that was like his best finish year ever. But he did lead significant laps. He led 29 laps here last year, despite starting 22nd. So there's some upside there to be had. He didn't end up like finishing all that great, and I'm pretty sure those laps came from like pit strategy or whatnot. But it's a little something something. And yeah, 9K, that's such a cheap price point for a lap leader compared to the guys 10K and above. If you can get him into line, if he ends up even leading like any sort of chunk and finishing just somewhat decently, like if he finishes 10th with a chunk of lead laps, like 30, 40 lead laps, that should probably do it. You can fit him with, like, there's so many other good options to spend up on the slate.
So tricky getting the right trio correct here.
Yeah, because this whole range, you can see everyone in this range has like the same odds.
Yeah.
All the way up to the top, really. There's not that much difference.
This is a perfect example of what it's been like rostering Bell
or
real. Not rostering him this season, depending on which race it was. It's literally exactly how it goes. When you think he's starting 36th and it's in nuts lock, he crashes.
Yeah, if you think Bell's frustrating, there's Bubba here also, who had a really strong performance here last year. 23XI Toyota looking super strong this week, but his pit crew is even worse. He's starting 11th. Like, he has so much upside. Like, imagine the upside he'd have if he had an actual like pit crew that was capable and cup worthy, but
definitely
it's not really the case.
Tyler Reddick looks pretty good here. Starting 15. He's one of the guys I kind of like. Look good in practice. Not great.
Was runner up at Pocono, but like he really ran around like 9th or 10th for the most part. Has not had any luck at this track. But of course that could change. I'm not really too worried about that. Last year's race was kind of fucky, and it's really all we have to go off of for the next gen car, because whenever there's a giant pile up to start the race, it kind of ruins people's day super early. So I wouldn't really blame anyone for having a bad run last year. Like, I'm not gonna go against Kyle Busch just because, like, he was the dominant car early, but just got ran into it.
Yeah, that's that's the opposite of what you need to. You have to. You got to give him the benefit for that, not the negative from that.
I would have liked to see.
You're gonna get caught up
out of Reddick.
You're gonna get caught up in a big wreck.
And Bubba and Reddick, the 23XI guys didn't show quite the speed the JGR guys have. And the JGR Toyotas have it like across the board. They're all like top 5.
And getting through it. I mean, you see the names here. You got your Bell, Hamlin, Truex, all the Toyotas. But let's keep rolling our way through the stud zone here. You got Joey Logano. He's starting 6th overall. Nothing really stands
out. This range
is
so forgettable. Blaney, Elliott, Logano. I have some interest in Blaney, but like Elliott, I really dislike. He's finishing decently in all these races, but my God, is he a ghost? Blaney's the one that showed some long run practice speed. He was showing like Darlington, Gateway, Charlotte, these races, like Charlotte especially, absolutely monstrous. Like, he had really started to pop off. He was really the first like Ford to get it together at the intermediate tracks this year and was amazingly strong. Just most recently at Nashville and Pocono. Nashville, he got taken out super early. Pocono, I think he got into like pit problems or whatever, kind of derailed his day. But he won here in 2021, top 5 last year. Like, he's just kind of my go-to contrarian dominator option. Elliott Logano, I have way less interest in. Logano looked not very fast out there. Starting 6th, such an awkward spot for him. I don't really like him much at all. Elliott, I'm a big Elliott fan. Not a believer in Elliott this week.
For everybody who's looking at the sheet, the cheat sheet or the research station that we're showing on screen, one of the best ways to look at this and just like to put your eyes on it, especially on a practice time heavy track, is see, these are ranked. These are your practice rankings. And you could really quickly see, okay, Blaney was 5th, 3rd, and 4th. He was really good. See, Chastain, not bad at all. We're ripping on Chastain. He was pretty good. Pretty good. Ty Gibbs right there. Truex 1st, 3rd, 2nd. And Truex is your second best car in terms of speed, right? Oh, here's Willie Byron, 3rd, 2nd, 4th. Your 3rd best car in terms of speed. So like these numbers here give you a really quick, fast read on, Larson, nothing special. Hamlin, nothing special in practice. Still like him, but was not special in practice. Very obvious over here. So you could quickly see just by looking at these numbers. Taco, I know you create the sheet, so you like know exactly what your eye is supposed to go to. I like to explain it because, there's a lot of numbers and it's confusing for people. So like, this is just really quick. You just look at this little column. You're like, oh, second, first. Okay, this guy's fast. 7. Well, Chastain, at least he's consistent, and you could quickly see even in the turd zone. Oh, Colo 17. That's a lot better than these 30s and 29s in just about everybody around him. And Elmendinger, look at that. He stands out massively next to the field. So it's just a really quick way to scan Bowman, to scan this real fast and be aware of what you're looking at and what looked good and who looked good and why.
Yeah, we're looking at practice a little bit more this week too. Like if I were to order all of the tracks from where practice is the most important to the least important, this would be like 5th, 6th. Like it's one of the more like these large 2+ mile tracks. It's like the laps are so long that the speed is going to shine through.
Do you think that the trick this week is to not get sucked in to some of the place diff studs and maybe just stick with the studs who did well and look good?
Because we're going to get to Hamlin and Harvick. Hamlin never practices well because he does not like the preferred groove in practice. He's kind of an exception to all of this. And then Harvick's the really interesting one on the slate. Like, how about we get to him when we get to him?
Yeah, let's get to him. We'll get there.
He's super unique.
All right, so let's get to him when we get to him. Chris Bell, okay, prohibitive favorite, not prohibitive, but the favorite, right? 8-1 odds to win versus 8.5 or worse for everybody else.
7-1, but yeah, he was a little bit bigger of a favorite last night right after qualifying, but yeah, he had the fastest 5, 10, 15 lap average. Starts on the pole, gets direct access to clean, fresh air. We do love our fresh air. With there being a competition caution most likely added, like almost certainly added to this race as we're expecting rain delays, that kind of hurts Bell a bit. He does get that first overall pit stall, which should help him. But yeah, of course, the main concern here is his pit crew is stinky, and he has been getting a lot of pit penalties. Kind of been learning from the best, and by the best I mean Hamlin, the best at getting pit penalties. He has perfected the art lately. So that's the major concern with Bell. Obviously, I want to play so much Bell. When you go through hand building, if you're not really the biggest Chastain believer, it's so hard not to just take Bell, because Truex by himself, this isn't a track where he really has dominated like crazy since like 5-6 years ago when he just did that at every single track. It's Truex not really something we've seen of him, but
this year though. Truex is having a resurgent year.
He is looking fast. It's just JGR looks so much better than every other team this week, and Christopher Bell leading the pack in that regard. His intermediate track form has been getting better and better each week. Hard not to just I'll probably certainly be overweight on this chalk here.
Is there any juice given by teammates to other teammates? So you got Hamlin, like Truex is starting, 5th, right?
Mm-hmm.
He gets up to 2nd, and all of a sudden Bell's in 1st and he's in 2nd. Are they like, yo, bro, cruising? They're just enjoying themselves on a Sunday afternoon, doing that. Like, hey, you go ahead. I'll be behind you. Let's do this thing, bro.
I mean,
high fives
he could do a little. I could see him do a little okie dokie with Ty Gibbs early on. It'd be better if Ty Gibbs was starting 2nd. That would be a lot freer.
Like Ty Gibbs is there too. You know what I mean? But... So they're all hanging out. Are they like, hey, you want to go up front for a little bit? Yo, go ahead, bro. Is it like all?
I could see him running up there with like Gibbs and Truex. That's probably the expectation for early on this race. But
and are they trying to pass at that point? Are they just like, let's just cruise, do our thing? Or are they is Truex like actively and
like Ty Gibbs will be? Truex is very much about like saving his equipment, having long run speed.
But is Ty Gibbs trying to pass his teammate? Is what I'm saying. Or are they like, no, cruising?
Ty Gibbs, yeah, Ty Gibbs, yeah. But I don't think I don't think he'll be able to really. So I think Bell is just faster.
But you know what I'm
saying?
Early
on, it's really gonna. If anyone's gonna take out Bell early on, if it's not Chastain, it's probably going to be Christopher Bell or Christopher Bell's crew.
Just being slow out of the pit, which is 20, 30, 40 laps led before we get to that point. So he'll have those points banked. Not that that's a ton of points, but does the lap leader also get the fast lap here?
Yeah. And yeah, he's just kind of in. He's cheap enough to where like he's in the spot that usually like your $10,800 dude would be in, and yeah, the pulsator here historically has averaged 61 lead laps, 22 fast laps, and again, a very, very high optimal lineup rate for the pulsators here. It's just been consistently good for him. We've seen even not the best of drivers kind of overperform with the pull here because who would have guessed it? Clean air is awesome.
Clean air is important here. It's funny because it's the opposite of what you want on a super speedway where you're plate racing. It's just the opposite of it.
Super speedway, your spotter is awesome. If you have a killer spotter, you're gonna look like Keselowski out there.
All right, so let's talk about some of the threats to JGR up top, and you've got Willie Byron here.
He is a threat. Look at that practice speed. He is probably the top non-JGR threat. So he's had really good finishes at this track type all year. He's gotten some wins: Darlington, Las Vegas, a few handed to him last second by Ross Chastain. But nonetheless, he's kind of always been up there. He's kind of the anti-Bell, where he's not had like the insane speed, really. It's just he has like the best crew in NASCAR that keeps him just constantly running in the top 5. He's always there.
Look at his finishes. I mean, they're so good in this track type. First, third, first, second, 8th, 6th, 14th. Oh,
was not impressive at Pocono is the one thing that would cause a little bit of concern here, I guess. But like Chevy overall was good at Nashville. Again, just pretty much a permanent top 5 fixture. You got to kind of expect that here. I don't think he's really like the race dominating type. Has never really done that at this track.
Yeah, you know what?
But he will run top 5. Like he's gonna be up there, ready to pounce. Bell takes himself out.
He's not that type until he is
like Truex or whatever. But he'll be there. He's got a good floor. He's probably much better Fanduel play than Draftkings play. I'll say that.
Beyond Byron, and I think Byron. Listen, he's not a dominator threat until he dominates the shit out of it, and then you're like, there it is. Like it can just happen. Kyle Busch, a Brady pick to win the race.
Yeah, and his odds are shifting. The odds makers reading the Brady notes for sure. And he has that like sneaky long run speed, 3rd and 15 lap average. Was awesome at this track last year before being taken out super early by that giant pileup. He started 3rd. He ran towards the front and just racked up a bunch of lead and fast laps. Now that was with JGR, of course. JGR super, super strong here. Now he's in the Richard Childress Racing Chevy equipment, but yeah, Brady loves him a lot. I like him a lot because of that. His ownership should remain lower. I think Brady will probably jack that up a little bit.
People reading these notes are going to jack it.
Fave to win. Come on now.
13% is going up to 25 just on this note.
Yeah, but he's been super low owned kind of everywhere lately because we have not really seen him strike, but he has won 3 times this year, including probably the most similar track to this one, Auto Club, early in the year. Granted, he kind of just wins at Auto Club all the time, like Kevin Harvick here. But yeah, $10,100 has that sneaky little long run speed. He's now the 2nd favorite to win here, starting 8th.
It's really funny because Kyle Busch was not standing out to me at all. For really anything, the practice time's pretty good, but not the best. And he just wasn't standing out. So it's the Brady call and the change in odds that are really fascinating me, considering, like I said, I don't really see why the odds change, but so much for him, but they did, and it's just really interesting. Now we get to Kevin Harvick. So this is as interesting of a spot. We're starting with the fact that he's 17-1 to win this.
Okay,
right?
Yeah. So much worse. He was 23-1 to win this last year,
and he won.
And he crushed. He's so good at this track. Like this track, Atlanta and Phoenix. It kind of doesn't even matter the form he's in. He's so good. The practice time's concerning, but I have a feeling they're kind of like Hamlin's, where like Hamlin will just be like, "Hey, I'm gonna run this lane just to see if there's any grip here. Probably not, but I'm gonna do it anyways. And that's why his practice times tend to be shit, even when he's got a fast car. Harvick looked especially kind of slow out there, and yes, Stuart Haas has struggled immensely at intermediate tracks this season. It's true, but he was like pretty damn good at Pocono recently. It's not like he's been like bad. He's a top 10 lock pretty much every single week.
He gets there.
Doing your expectations of him are he is almost certainly going to get a top 10 finish like 90% of the time. He's the safest guy to do that. So even when he's starting 22nd, like he's so good at adjusting and figuring it out by the end of the race. He's going to be so freaking high owned though. I don't think I can go overweight here. Again, his projection is going to be good because all of that place differential he has to work with, because he's almost surely going from like 22nd to like 8th or 9th. Like that's a pretty conservative estimate.
Do you think he can
win?
That's
assuming that he is actually like those practice times are legitimate. And he is actually slow. Like he's still gonna find the top 10 by the end of the race. And does that place differential get you there alone at $10,300? I mean, if with Chastain and Bell being so cheap, he does pair with them very well. Like it's super easy to afford them.
That's where I was going to go with it.
Kind of like Hamlin a little better though, is the thing.
I was going to say, can Harvick get you there?
He's going to be so high owned though. People are going to see he's won 4 of the last 5 of the last 7 races here, and he's starting 22nd. And every optimizer is going to have him projected. Like, how do you not have him projected super well?
I'm just saying, can he get there if he doesn't dominate at that price? He can't get there if it's like Truex and Kyle Busch who are dominating. Like if the other expensive guys do well, I don't think that even a Kevin Harvick has a great race and finishes in 5th from 22nd at 10-3 is definitely enough to say, yep, we got it. Now, this is a big track with 2-mile laps, so there are fewer dominator points than like if this was a 1.5. But it's not that few. There's still 200 laps to go around. That's not a lot. That's quite a little. How many dominator points? You're talking about maybe 120 total dominator points to go around.
What's crazy is he's won 4 of the last 5 races, yet he's 16-1. Like Vegas is perfectly okay putting that out there.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Leads me to kind of be a little bit sus of Harvick here.
It's a little fadeable. I listen. I'm not saying fade Harvick starting 22nd. He was slow in practice, whatever.
He's got an insane floor. Like cash game, obviously that's a lock. Like obviously.
Is it? That's your cash guy. That's your cash guy.
Of course.
Okay. Okay. Is his floor better than Kyle Larson's floor starting 17th?
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right, that's fair.
I think Larson, low key, his stats at this track are kind of boosted by a couple pole starts. He's never really actually been that good outside of like when he first started racing, and this was the only track type that he could like get wins at. I'm not too worried about Kyle Larson this week. If there's any Hendrick guy I'd be worried about, it'd be Byron. But Harvick, yeah, he's just a weird one. He's priced up so much this week, like. I don't know. I'm still gonna I'm gonna have a fair share of him. Obviously, it's just like I kind of want to be a bit under to the field, especially if he is going to be super chalk, which I suspect.
If your ownership
people
here
can look away from those wins,
if your ownership projection is right, and he's going to be about 36%, I would be below that for Harvick, for sure. 36% for me is a level I reserve for like a Chris Bell level kind of person that exactly sort of how it's going to go. Like Chris Bell leads a bunch and hangs around, you're going to win with him. Like he's got he's 56% in the nuts based on a starting position just historically, where Kevin Harvick has you have bad practice times, very high price, and starting in a weird spot.
And we could see a very different track by the time they actually do start racing, especially if for some reason this does get pushed out until Tuesday.
It is
forecast ain't looking great.
Yeah, it looks like
looking great.
A couple days from
they
now.
Always end up finding a little window to sneak it through, like on a Monday or whatever. But if we only race half a race, like Harvick is going to look like an even stronger option. So
Wait, who's the king though of the weird multi-day race?
I mean, if it goes to Monday, then Truex already won. But
Yeah, that's what I'm
Monday
saying.
looks even worse than today.
The king of the broken up race is coming up next, and let me tell you something. Truex. All right, let's just paint the positives here. The practice speed, spectacular. Fastest car. We said this is the track where car speed does translate a little bit. Practice speeds do translate quite a bit. He did good in qualifying, but also destroyed practice. Second only to Christopher Bell in terms of how good it was. And you might say he was better than Bell in practice.
So here's the thing with Truex. He's kind of the opposite of Harvick here, because yeah, he has 6 straight top 10 finishes here. That's cool. His track history for a top level driver at this track is like actually bad. The last 4 races here, 0 lead laps and 12 total fast laps. No more than 4 fast laps in one race. His last 4 at Michigan. Typically, this style of track has not been Truex's best, but he is showing speed this year. He's in much better form than he has been the last 2 or 3 years, certainly. Right there with Kyle Busch is the second odds-on favorite, and he's got complete busters ahead of him. I'm sorry, I love you, Busher, but you being in front of Truex is just temporary. And Ty Gibbs, that's his son. So I think Truex will work his way past those guys eventually, especially if there's like long runs. If this is constantly broken up, then overall, I think you can look more to the good restarters like the Chastains of the world. There's some upside there, but if this thing does go green, go single file, like I think Truex will end up there eventually. Probably be the first person to pounce on like a Christopher Bell mistake.
He's starting 5th. Like it's not going to take much.
Yeah,
it's not going to take much.
20
laps in, you can see Truex in first. Like if he's just driving past guys because he's just faster, it won't.
You can do that up until first place. Think about this track in really just overall, but especially with the next gen setup here, is that it doesn't matter if you're fast in first place in clean air, they're just going to be in first place. But you can put yourself in a good position. As long as you're in second and there's a caution, you've always got that chance. So Truex, feeling him, probably gonna. I still prefer Hamlin overall, but yeah, Truex. I mean, just JGR in total. I'm over all the JGR guys.
So the implied ownerships here, and you're saying you prefer Hamlin, but we got it. I mean, ownerships are about the same: 26, 24, 24 on the projection. So
yeah, Truex bumped up quite a bit because the whoever's first overall in practice, like fast lap, usually gets a significant little bump compared to whoever's like second. And his track history from like a dominator, like his average fast laps, lead laps here at this track are pretty shit. But I don't think people look to that as much as they do the finishes. The finishes have been fine, but really it's just in such good form.
That's
such
that
a good
for me
game
is
log.
the thing.
Like, he's going to be popular.
Truex is the Chastain of this year. How
first half
last year,
Chastain,
like it's not Chastain, it's Truex.
Truex
like how
is
Larson
the Truex
was
of this year.
There was a year so far since I've been, in the last like 5 years, we had a Larson year, we had a Truex year,
we had like 3 straight Truex years, like 16, 18. Like he's kind of the guy at every intermediate track, no matter what.
There was a Kyle Busch year. I mean,
a lot of yeah.
And when those guys are having their year,
then, but yeah, he's consistently always going to be one of those guys.
Look, when those guys are having their year, you could almost throw out track history. Like, no, this guy's just killing it this season. Just like the way Larson was killing it his year after his incident. The next year, he dominated everything. It didn't matter. Like, oh, he's terrible at these tracks. Well, he just won another one.
Larson is good at race cars.
It might be Truex's year this year. I've been trying to think whose year is it.
He's got to be the favorite for the championship right now. Certainly,
it's kind of his year, right? So you can't not play Truex at all ever.
Can't be Hamlin's year. Not Hamlin's year.
It's not.
Everybody hates Hamlin.
Hamlin deserves a year though. Like he's that guy. He might be too old though. He
He
might
would
be
be
older
he'd be the only guy I could see getting booed winning a championship right
Why do
now.
people hate Hamlin?
Kyle
What did
Busch
he
should
do?
probably get applause at this point. Like
Why do
Hamlin's
people
just
hate
become
Hamlin?
most hated. He's become the most hated over Kyle Busch, certainly.
Why? What did he do? He was too friendly.
Unapologetic, always hopping on the podcast, defending himself. Like, I mean, especially recently, he's caught himself in a lot of hot water with the way he's been driving and being very unapologetic, getting into a lot of tangos with people.
Did you see the clip
foil
of him?
To Chastain, who everyone loves.
Did you see the clip of him? Talking to Danica, where he's like, "I keep telling you," like just like he's all pissed off. He's like, "I'm trying to help you, and you don't listen." Like, it was funny.
But one thing he's got going on as a team owner, looking like 23XI is going places because Michael Jordan I think he just sold his shares of the Hornets, and he had expressed that he's going to be going all in on this NASCAR stuff.
Wow.
Hey, when you're from Charlotte, man, everyone in Charlotte loves NASCAR, and having Michael Jordan be a more regular, consistent piece, that's awesome for the future of 23XI. I hope to see them pick up another charter and maybe even become the premier Toyota team eventually. Who knows? But yeah, love to see that. Love to see the GOAT getting active. Maybe he'll be like Joe Gibbs and be the GOAT at two different sports. Who knows? But yeah, Hamlin, I just love overall starting 13th. I never really care about Hamlin's practice times. He is a Dora the Explorer when it comes to the different grooves in practice. He's just all over the place. But he's been factoring in constantly. Just won at Pocono. Just won at Kansas also. And with 6 to Auto Club, those are the corollary tracks here. Unless he gets taken out of this thing like he did at Charlotte, he is going to factor into the top 3 almost certainly. So that's 10 place differential points right there. And then on top of that, like he always gets the lead here somehow. Let's pull the exact numbers here. Where are we at here, Denny Hamlin? We go year by year at this track. Yeah. He's led at least 5 laps in the last 7 Pocono races and 8 out of the last 9. And his fast laps over the last 5 races here, 34, 20, 15, 20, 37. He always shows up for Michigan. And he's been optimal 4 of the last 5 times as well, despite almost always starting outside of the top 10. Uh-oh.
Hello.
Help. Be right back.
There it is. Someone needs help. Isn't it cool here, though, this historical tab where you can literally see what he's been doing here. And there's what Taco's telling us. 38, 34, 6:15, just the recent years. He's just leading laps, getting the fast laps. So Hamlin, been pretty good here. Definitely a cool little feature of the tool here. But I found all of his the last few years. Yeah, he's always had some lead time. Hamlin, I lost it, but there I was. So good stuff. All right, let's move on.
Boy came in to remind me to play JJ Elliott. I told him to get his buster ass out of here.
Not happening.
Go back to your room. Go clean your room. Telling me terrible advice like that.
Get him off the DFS Army podcast and
get him off the mic.
No, absolutely not. We're not playing Yelly. No Yelly. All right, Kyle Larson. Last but not least, top of the heap in terms of salary. They priced him up. Listen. The win odds aren't the best, 10 to 1. It's not horrible, but a little less good than some of the leaders here. The ownership at 24%, it's up there. Larson has to lead laps when you're the most expensive guy, and lots of them. Can he take the lead? I'm thinking, yeah, but
typically people that start outside the top 15 don't lead here.
Yeah, going to be tough. Starting 17th, he needs lead laps in many of them.
And the only time he's led laps here has been when he's gotten the pole. When he's not gotten the pole at Michigan, he's been a non-factor. So
are you going under the 24% prediction with him?
I am. Yeah, I'm going to be off Larson. I'm definitely going to be more on Hamlin.
When you say
if
off,
I'm going Hendrick. I'm going Hendrick. I'm going Byron.
Just so I can understand, when you say I'm going to be off, I'm going Bowman above all those guys. But
I'll have some Larson a little bit, but I'm going to be significantly underweight
Yeah.
to the field.
You mean underweight too? So just to clarify, when we
I don't
say
have an exact percentage
yeah,
yet, but maybe like 10% Larson
yeah,
when
to be
he's
off of him doesn't
20
mean I'm
plus
going to have
percent owned.
0. It means it sometimes it will unfriend
I'll
me.
have 0. So I'm going to be playing a bunch of lineups. So I'm going to have them like not everyone, but a huge chunk of the field. I'm going to have 0 Briscoe. I'll tell you that.
0 Briscoe. I mean, 0 of the turd zone down here for me. Like when I say I unfriend you, I unfriend. I legitimately don't play those guys. Barry, I won't play.
I'll have some Gillen. I might even fuck around and throw a Ty Dillon in that bitch every now and again, but
not me.
But
yeah, up here, is there any fadeable guy here? Let's say in this entire zone here. Is there anyone who
you can fade Harvick, you can fade Larson, you can fade Chase Elliott, Logano, you can fade Reddick, you can fade Bubba, Brad Keselowski, Buescher, and Gibbs kind of are fades. You can fade Suarez for sure, Almirola. A lot of guys you can fade.
You don't want to fade too many of these because then you got nothing. So
I got something.
And where are you going overweight to the field, Taco?
Hamlin.
Bell?
Probably
how about
Bell.
Busch?
I'm going quite overweight on Bell. I'm just gonna hope the Clean Air does this thing.
You're gonna play the chalk with Bell.
I'm gonna be by my nails all day on every single pit stop. Yeah, I'm happy with the Bell chalk. Not as happy with the Harvick chalk.
Are you jumping on board the Kyle Busch contrarian Brady call?
Yeah, and I'm gonna blame I'm gonna blame Brady when he does shit, but I'm starting. Vegas is all along with him. I could see it. He has some sneaky long run speed. I fucks with it.
One of my favorite things is making DFS decisions, and then when it works out well, taking the credit,
and when it doesn't, just blaming others.
Yeah.
If Kyle Busch does really well, Brady definitely gets all the credit for that. But
you get a little credit, like thanks, Brady. Good call. As I count my $10,000 bills, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it just sucks that a lot of the guys that I'm really into this week. It's not like last week where I was really into a lot of some of the lower owned guys, which is whatever. But most of the guys I have a ton of love for in this slate, I would expect to be popular, and I'm just kind of hoping that they're not. And if they're not, then fucking awesome. Like Eric Jones, for example, absolutely huge on Eric Jones. Top 10 last year, top 10 at the 2 most recent intermediate tracks as well.
If I had to force
Eric Jones,
if I forced you to go all in on one guy, like hit the lock button, you must play
Bell
100%. It's Bell.
Yeah, and then just pray he leads the first 60 laps. It's kind of
is the feeling basically like as long as he can get you that 60 laps led and finish in the top 10, we're golden.
Yeah, because Jones, Bell probably has the easiest path to the optimal, I guess, by just chilling and leading laps. As where Eric Jones, I love him, but he's there are other guys in that range that he's gonna have to outvalue, and it's kind of close. Like Stenhouse is right there and also in an amazing spot. Allmendinger's fast and he's right there. Even Priest, that whole range is kind of close. As where Bell, his main competition is going to be outvalue or just blocking Chastain from being the early dom and then holding off Truex as long as he can, which I think he can do. Maybe Byron as well.
The Brady note seems to the biggest fear for Bell because Brady is the Bell whisperer. So this has me just
true.
I mean, it does have my eyebrows raised just a smidge because I'm like,
yeah, his crew is stinky, but is he going to get a pit penalty for a 3rd week in a row? Maybe. Just maybe he'll figure it out by now. I don't know.
The other thing is what Brady may not be accounting for is we're not betting on Bell winning the race. All I care about is him getting, 50 or 60 lead laps at some point and then hanging around, which he seems like he's got a vehicle probably good enough to do.
Yeah,
right?
Just read the second half of his first sentence, and that's what I care about.
Bell has the best car this weekend, right? So that's real. Right? He's got the best car, but a little nervous about the pit penalty or some mistake that pushes him to the back of the pack, and now you're fighting your way back. You're not leading laps. When you're fighting back, you're not leading laps. So, and the hatred for Chastain really kind of makes you like Bell more because Chastain's starting second. So this should be a really, really interesting race, Taco. I'm excited for it. Remember, if you hung with us for this whole time and you're not subscribed to the DFS Army YouTube channel, it's really important. You got to be subscribed to the channel. We got nonstop content coming out. If you're not notification belled, you're not going to find out when I'm dropping it like it's hot. Sometimes I drop it like it's hot, like
the party don't stop.
Yeah, like the actual dance moves. But a lot of times it's just DFS things that are coming up real soon, and you got to get that notification. So hit that bell, like the channel, subscribe, all that good stuff. And Taco, good luck today in the race. I got lineups to build, keeping it real. I got work to do.
Hell yeah!
This thing starts when? Let's see, 2 hours from now, maybe. Do you think this will start at 2:47? Well, it's now been pushed back to 2:47, which is nice because we did a fucking long ass podcast. But
I think it's gonna be pushed back to an even later date, most likely. Looking
so you don't even think this is gonna run today? That would be best for me.
Right now, I'm seeing like 3 o'clock. There's like a 60% chance of rain, 80% chance of rain at 4. Maybe we wait and do this in the evening. Does this place have lights? I can't remember. I've literally been to this track and I don't remember if it has lights, but I don't think it does. It's kind of too big of a track
today. But we'll see if Draftkings changes the start time. Somebody said the Mega Mini Max was filled, but it's not. I'm seeing it on my screen. So somebody in the comments said it was filled. Is it filled? No. There's still a lot of spaces left in the $4 one. Well, I'm assuming there was like smaller contests, like a 3 or something like that. I don't see.
So I can confirm Michigan Speedway does not have lights.
No lights.
So there is a chance we run this on Tuesday.
This could go multiple days.
Depends on how the weather changes up. Tomorrow, it just looks like it's going to rain all day.
I feel like, by the way, I feel like I could use a couple more days to get my lineups run.
Yeah.
I'll be tweaking for 2 days.
They push lock early.
Like a lunatic, I'd be tweaking lineups for days.
What sucks is that means it's going to rain here for the next 2 days. Not looking forward to that. So
they probably
just mowed my lawn. Those bastards.
There you go. Okay. Got a little championship qualifiers here. All right, we got some handcrafts to make. I got some lineups to build. So good luck, everybody.
All right, I got my helmets up. Time for y'all to get your helmets up.
Helmets up. That's right. Make sure you got a DFS Army helmet if you want to be eligible for swag, guys. I see way too many of you guys like, I thought I had to win a race before I was allowed to rock an avatar. That's not how it works. Rock the DFS Army avatar. If you're in the Discord, just type in the word avatar. It'll pop up. You can pick whatever one you want, whatever team, all that stuff. And then when you take down a tournament, we're going to send you some swag. Oh, shit. Oh, what? You like the Vikings? We got a purple hat.
Yeah, what?
You got a Vikings hat. I'm just rocking my Vikings. Minnesota isn't the same thing.
Where am I yellow at?
I guess I should have worn the Lions. I mean, I just think of the North. I put on a hat. I've got
That's the new colors, though. I'm feeling that. I'm liking that.
I got a green and I got a Packers one. Not team specific, just the what was available when we ordered the swag.
Oh yeah.
We got a lot of new swag, shirts coming out. We got a hoodie coming in. You want to be a swag winner. You want to be on the DFS Army Wall of Champions. Are you familiar with the Wall of Champions, Taco?
I'm on there.
You're on the Wall of it. The Wall of Champions. Oh, $1 million winner.
I wish I was on that part.
Yeah. Oh, $1 million? Sure. Why not? You get on here.
We just had one PGA this year.
We need to make that Wall of Wins. We're improving that, make it more badass. Give me a minute. But all right, that'll do it for this one. Good luck, everyone. Taco, good stuff. I will see you at the top of the leaderboard.
Hell yeah.